What is geography? Seriously, what is it? For most of us, it was that one class in school we all had to take, the one where we spent hours staring at pastel-colored maps trying to burn the names of capitals into our brains. We traced the jagged borders of countries we'd never go to, and memorized the names of rivers we couldn't even pronounce. We learned that Mount Everest was tall, the Nile was long, and for some reason we really needed to know the chief exports of Bolivia. You probably think it's about as exciting as watching paint dry. A dusty, forgotten subject full of trivia. A game of Trivial Pursuit, but with fewer wedges. But what if I told you that this cup of coffee is geography? And this smartphone, this is also geography. You see, if you think geography is just about knowing where things are, you're not just wrong, you're fundamentally missing the point. The word geography literally means earth writing. The goal isn't just to memorize the map, it's to read the story written on the face of the planet. It's the hidden story of how everything around you came to be, how it all connects, and how it shapes every single moment of your life. Today, we're going to tear up those old boring maps and uncover that hidden story. We're going to redefine geography, and by the end, you'll never look at the world, or your morning coffee, the same way again. To really get what geography is, let's start with this humble cup of coffee. It didn't just magically appear here, its story began thousands of miles away in a very specific place. And the why of that place is the first half of our story, physical geography. Physical geography is the study of the planet's natural systems. It's the science of landforms, climate, water, soil, and life. Basically, the stage where the human drama unfolds. It's not just about what's there, but how it all works together in a complex, interconnected dance. Let's use our coffee bean as a guide. Most of the world's best coffee grows in a region called the Bean Belt, a band that straddles the equator between the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn, but why there? The answer is a perfect storm of geographical factors starting with the very shape of the land. This is the world of geomorphology, the study of landforms. The best coffee often comes from high-altitude mountainous regions. Think of the Andes in Colombia or the highlands of Ethiopia. These aren't just random bumps on the earth, they're the result of immense geological forces. The Andes, for instance, were born from the slow, violent collision of tectonic plates over millions of years. That mountain building created the steep slopes and high altitudes, often between 1,000 and 2,000 meters, that coffee plants absolutely love. But why is high altitude so key? It creates a very specific microclimate. And that brings us to climatology, the study of climate. Coffee is a fussy plant. It needs a Goldilocks climate, not too hot, not too cold. The high altitudes provide warm days and cool nights, and that temperature swing slows down the ripening of the coffee cherry. This allows more complex sugars and acids to develop inside the bean, creating the nuanced, aromatic coffee we love, instead of the bland stuff that grows in hotter lowlands. These local climates are also shaped by huge global systems. The consistent trade winds, the seasonal monsoon rains, they're all part of the intricate climate machine that waters the plants and regulates their growth. So, the taste in your cup is directly linked to massive atmospheric patterns swirling thousands of miles above the Earth. Of course, mountains and a good climate aren't enough. You also need the right foundation, water and soil. This is where hydrology and pedology come in. Hydrology is the study of water. Coffee plants are thirsty, but they hate having wet feet. The steep, natural drainage of a mountainside is perfect. It lets heavy rains water the plants without waterlogging the roots. Then there's the soil, which is what pedology is all about. Many of the world's best coffee regions are volcanic. Places like Costa Rica and Guatemala are dotted with volcanoes. While terrifying, these volcanoes create unbelievably fertile soil. Over time, volcanic ash breaks down into soil that's rich in the exact minerals coffee plants need to thrive. This soil is also light and porous, which helps with that crucial water drainage. So, the same geological violence that built the mountains also cooked up the perfect chemical nursery for the coffee bean. Finally, there's biogeography, the study of where life is and why. Why did the coffee Arabica plant evolve here in the highlands of Ethiopia and not in, say, Siberia? Biogeography explains this. It looks at how physical factors like climate and soil create specific ecosystems that allow certain species to flourish. The coffee plant is perfectly adapted to this unique combination of high altitude, mild temperatures, volcanic soil, and seasonal rain. It belongs there. So when you look at a single coffee bean, you're not just seeing a drink, you're seeing the product of colliding continents, ancient volcanoes, global wind patterns, and millions of years of evolution. That's physical geography. It's the science behind the where and the why of the natural stage. But that stage is empty without actors. The coffee doesn't pick, roast, and ship itself. For that, we need to bring in the other half of the equation: us. If physical geography is the stage, human geography is the play. It's the study of people, where we live, what we build, what we believe, and the profound ways we interact with and change that physical stage. It's the story of how the environment shapes us, and how we shape it right back. Let's go back to our coffee beans sitting on a mountainside in Colombia, courtesy of that perfect storm of physical geography. Now what? This is where the human story takes over. It starts with cultural geography. Coffee wasn't always a global addiction. Its story supposedly begins around the 9th century in Ethiopia, where a goat herder named Kaldi noticed his goats got weirdly energetic after eating berries from a certain tree. This discovery spread through the Arabian Peninsula, where coffee houses, or cave khane, became hubs of social and intellectual life. From there, it spread to Europe, where cafes in cities like Paris and Vienna became hotbeds for new ideas. And eventually, it became the morning ritual for billions. This spread of an idea, a ritual, a taste, that's a core concept in cultural geography called diffusion. It's the study of how traditions and ideas move across space. The very fact that there's a cafe in your town is a geographical phenomenon with a direct line back to those first coffee houses in the Middle East. But to get that coffee from a farm to your cup, you need a system. This is economic geography, the study of how we produce, distribute, and consume things. Our coffee bean is now part of a massive global supply chain. A farmer plants the crop, workers pick the ripe cherries by hand, the beans are processed, dried, and sorted. From there, they're packed into huge sacks and trucked down winding mountain roads to a port. Here, they are sold to international traders, becoming a tiny piece of the global commodities market, their price bouncing around based on speculation in New York and London. They're loaded onto a colossal container ship, which crosses oceans, passes through man-made marvels like the Panama Canal, and finally arrives in another country. There, they're roasted, packaged, and sent to a cafe, where a barista finally turns them into the drink in your hand. Every step in that journey is a question of economic geography. Of course, that journey doesn't happen in a vacuum. This is where political geography steps in. This subfield studies how humans have carved the world into territories. The very borders that our container ship crosses are imaginary lines that have very real consequences. Is your coffee fair trade certified? That's a political concept, an attempt to reshape the economic geography of coffee for farmers. Are there trade agreements between the producing and consuming countries? Those are political decisions that dramatically alter the cost and availability of coffee. Finally, where do you actually drink your coffee? Chances are, it's in a city. And this brings us to urban geography. The study of how cities grow, how they're organized, and what it's like to live in them. Why is there a coffee shop on that corner and not another? That's urban geography. A company like Starbucks uses incredibly sophisticated geographical analysis, looking at traffic patterns, pedestrian flow, and neighborhood demographics to pick the perfect spot. So, let's look at our coffee one last time. Its journey was guided not just by the physical landscape, but by a human landscape of culture, economics, and politics. Human geography is the story of our species, written across the face of the earth. Together, physical and human geography give us a complete picture, a way of seeing the world in its full, interconnected glory. And that idea of interconnectedness is everything. If you're enjoying this new way of looking at the world and you want to see how deep these connections go, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. We've only just scratched the surface and you won't want to miss what's next. So geography is this huge field connecting the physical planet to our human experience. But you might still be picturing a geographer as someone with a tweed jacket and a dusty globe. That image is completely out of date. Today's geography is a high-tech discipline, driven by tools that were once science fiction. The two most important tools in the modern geographer's kit are GIS and remote sensing. Let's start with GIS, or Geographic Information Systems. Think of it as smart maps. Imagine a transparent map of your city showing just the roads. Now, lay another transparent map on top showing only buildings, then another with parks, then another with population density, then another with crime rates. A GIS is a computer system that does exactly this, but with thousands of layers of data all tied to a specific location. It lets us see relationships and patterns that are impossible to spot otherwise. Remember our question, Why is the coffee shop on that corner? A modern company uses GIS to figure this out, layering data on income, traffic, and competitors to find the sweet spot for maximum profit. But its uses go way beyond that. City planners use GIS to manage infrastructure and plan new transit routes. Emergency services use it to map wildfires or floods in real time to coordinate rescues. Scientists use GIS to track diseases, map deforestation, and model the impact of sea level rise. GIS is the engine behind a huge chunk of modern decision-making. But where does all that data come from? A lot of it comes from our second revolutionary tool, remote sensing. Remote sensing is the science of getting information about the Earth's surface without actually touching it, usually from satellites, airplanes, and drones. Every time you check the weather, you're using data from remote sensing. Satellites are constantly monitoring cloud cover and temperature. When you use Google Earth to zoom in on your house, you're looking at a mosaic of high-resolution images. That's remote sensing. But it goes so much deeper. In physical geography, scientists use remote sensing to measure the exact melting rate of the Greenland ice sheet, or track soil moisture from space to predict droughts. They can even use radar to peer through dense jungle canopies and discover forgotten ancient cities. In human geography, it's just as transformative. Urban planners monitor sprawl with satellite images. Aid organizations map refugee camps to deliver help more effectively. And in farming, precision agriculture uses drone imagery to show a farmer exactly which part of their field needs more water or fertilizer, saving money and reducing environmental impact. Together, GIS and remote sensing have revolutionized geography. They are the eyes and the brain of modern Earth science, allowing us to monitor our planet in real time, see the invisible patterns that connect everything, and make smarter decisions about how we manage our world. This isn't your grandfather's geography. It's a dynamic, data-rich science that is absolutely essential for tackling the biggest challenges of the 21st century. So, what is geography really? We started with the old idea of a boring class about memorizing maps. I hope you now see how wrong that is. We followed a simple cup of coffee and unraveled its hidden story. We saw how its very existence is thanks to the deep time of physical geography, the dance of tectonic plates, the chemistry of volcanic soil, and the swirling patterns of the global climate. Then, we watched it travel the world on the currents of human geography, through cultural traditions, complex supply chains, across political borders, and into the heart of our cities. And finally, we saw how modern geographers use incredible tools like GIS and remote sensing to see and manage these complex interactions with breathtaking precision. Geography isn't a list of facts, it's a lens. It's a way of thinking. It's the art and science of understanding connection. It shows us that nothing happens in a vacuum. The food you eat, the headlines you read, the weather outside, it's all interconnected in a web of spatial relationships. Studying geography is about understanding the why of where. It's realizing that the place you are born, the landscape you live in, and the society you're a part of will shape your life in countless ways, just as our collective actions shape the future of the planet. It's the most human of all the sciences and the most scientific of all the humanities. It is the story of our home. And it's a story we are all writing every single day. So the next time you look at a map, don't just see lines and colors, see the stories, see the connections, see the world not as a collection of separate places, but as a single, dynamic, and breathtakingly complex system. Here's a question for you. What object in your room has the most interesting geographical story? Think about where it came from, the materials, the culture, the journey. Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.